I'd like to share with you a conversation I had with a teenage boy many years ago that I have never forgotten. I was giving a teen retreat at a retreat center that the Archdiocese owned. And this one boy, 16 years old, came in and sat down with me and just wanted to talk. And he told me something that was very disturbing. He said to me that his mother once told him that he was an accident. She wasn't supposed to be able to conceive when he came along, but then lo and behold, there he was. And he said to me, he says, "Father, I could perfectly accept that my parents didn't plan to conceive me." He said, "Yet at no time in my life have they ever made me feel like I was anything other than an accident or a mistake to them." Broke my heart to hear a 16-year-old boy, and a good-looking young man, say that. Now, I had never met this young man before, never saw him after that, certainly didn't know his parents, and I was hoping very much that his parents did indeed love him, and maybe it was the traditional communication gap between teenagers and parents, that the way they were showing their love was not the way he was receiving it. But I remember I said to him this, I said, even if what you're telling me is absolutely 100% true, that your parents never wanted you and only see you as an accident, I said, you are not an accident to God. You are not a mistake to Him. You are here on this earth at this time because God has willed you into existence. He wants you here and now. No one is here by mistake on the earth. Once again, even children who come into the world outside of the way that God has ordained that we should bring children into the world, nevertheless, God brings that child into the world and wants that person and wills that person into existence here and now. And I told him, I said, just as you know, no two snowflakes, they say, are alike, neither are two people absolutely alike. People may look very similar. I said, you may look like your father or your mother, or you may act like them. I told him, I said, you get older and you get married and have children, and your children may look like you, they may act like you, for better or for worse. I said, they may be very much like you, but they won't be you. They will be molded and shaped by the times and circumstances and the things that happen in their lifetime. I said, so you are the only person just like you God has ever created. He has never created anyone just like you before, and He never will again. I said, and all of us are created in the image and likeness of God. That means that God is showing Himself to the world through you in a way He has never done before and never will do again. You are a unique manifestation of the face of God. And if you can see that gift that only you can bring to the world, you will never question whether or not your life has value or meaning or anything like that again. You will see your dignity clearly because you will see that you have a purpose for being here on earth, and that is to bring God to the world in a way that only you can do. And that, of course, is true of all of us. Every one of us is a unique manifestation of the face of God. Each and every one of us is each and every one of us is a unique masterpiece. Each and every one of us is a unique work by God. Just as if you can imagine works by Michelangelo or something, some of his many beautiful statues. Every one of them is unique, but every one of them shows something about the artist of Michelangelo in that statue. Same thing with God and us. Each of us is unique, but each of us bears that unique face of God, that seal of Him, that God is showing Himself to the world through us in a way He has never done before. And if we could only understand that, what a difference our lives would be. Sadly, many people don't realize that beautiful gift that God has given them. They don't realize their value comes just in being the person God created them to be. And they look for meaning in so many other places to try to find that uniqueness, the thing that makes them themselves, that is different from everyone else. And that's what's led to, over the years, young people experimenting in so many different things just to try to be unique and to be individual. Things such as all sorts of bizarre hairstyles and things like that, or the clothing that some people would wear, or excessive tattooing and body piercing, or today the recent one is making up new genders. All of these are attempts by young people to find something unique about themselves. But we don't have to invent something unique or bring it in from the outside. It's already there. It's in the person that we are. If we can only see the beautiful gift of God showing himself to the world through us in a way he has never done before and never will again, then we will know that dignity and that beauty. And I've always felt if we could just help the world understand and see the unique gift that each and every one of us is, the unique masterpiece by God, then we would have such a different world, and we would all have that meaning and that quality in our life that we look for in so many other places. Now, in thinking about that, we might say, well, if you find it an inspiring story, you might say, well, that's nice, but what does that have to do with Christmas? Well, if we see Christmas as merely the birth of Jesus' birthday, well, the answer would be really nothing. But if we understand Christmas in its fullness, then it comes to take on its understanding that Christmas is more than just celebrating Jesus' birthday, but we're celebrating the feast of the incarnation, of God, the second person of the Trinity, becoming man. God himself became a man. And we speak of the wonderful divine exchange. God, the second person of the Trinity, humbled himself to be born into our world, born of a mother, making himself or putting himself at the mercy of human parents to take care of them and raise him, entering into our world and taking on our identity in the most complete way he possibly could, as completely as he could. The only thing about our nature he could not actually take to himself was sin. He could not sin. But he even gave the appearance of that at his baptism when he came to John and was baptized by, like everyone else. He gave the appearance to everyone else that he too was a sinner needing to return to the Lord. And we say that at that point, Jesus took upon himself, the sinless one, all the sins that had been washed by John in the waters of baptism, now absorbed onto himself, assumed them onto his own shoulders so he could take them to the cross, crucify them there, kill them there, and when he rose from the dead, sin was destroyed, and now we have that new creation. He humbled himself to take on our nature to the most complete way possible so he could exalt us to take on his nature. God became man so that man could become God. My friends, do you realize the dignity that God has for each and every one of us? That he has called us all to nothing less than total and complete union with him. We won't actually be identical to God. No, we won't be other members of the Trinity. Of course, that can't happen. But we'll be as close to that as is physically possible. That God is absorbing us into total and complete union with himself. That begins at our baptism and is most beautifully perfected when we come and receive the body and blood of Jesus in the form of bread and wine in communion so that it's palatable to us. So that now the flesh and blood of God himself enters into our body. That flesh and blood that was born of the Virgin Mary, that first Christmas, now enters into us every time we receive communion, so that God is now drawing us into union with him. And our souls then, when we leave this earth, will be in his loving embrace for all of eternity. And when Jesus returns at the end of time and raises our bodies from the dead, now we will be with him, reigning in glory, sitting on his throne with him, just as we see in our beautiful painting, that we will be with God on his throne. We will become completely part of God to the fullest extent possible. The incarnation leads to divination. God became man so that man could become God. My dear friends, do not pass that thought by without giving it serious consideration for the meaning that it has in our lives, what it means for us. If we can truly grasp and embrace what God has done for us by taking on our flesh and giving us that flesh as our food so that now he can become one with us, it totally changes our life, our outlook on what's important, of everything that matters in our lives and in the world. And our lives will be changed completely. And we will live as totally different men and women, because we will live no longer for the things that the world teaches us are important, but we will find that dignity, that meaning, that value in our life in Christ, remembering that He has brought us into union with Him, and each and every one of us is a unique masterpiece, a means by which He is showing Himself to the world, and that you and I have a way to show Christ to the world that only we can do and no one else can do. And if we do that to the best of our ability, then when people meet us, they will feel as if they have met Christ, and they will be grateful to God that they have come to know us, because in meeting us, being the best we can be, they will have met God. What is that gift? Well, that's different for everyone, and maybe it will be something we'll be able to identify, a particular talent or skill that we have, and we say, this is God's unique gift to me, and I'm going to use it that way. Or maybe it will be just being the unique people He created us to be, being ourselves in our personality, in everything that makes us the people we are, that are unique in Him, but being our best selves, so that we let that unique gift that is us shine for all to see. And we would realize then that the greatest Christmas gift ever given was given to us that first Christmas, when God took on flesh to dwell in our world. He humbled Himself to take on our nature, to exalt us to take on His. As the ancient fathers of the church have taught us, God became man so that man could become God. Indeed, my friends, let today, the day of Christmas joy, be the day that we realize the beautiful gift that God has given each and every one of us to be nothing less than becoming one in Him. May we indeed desire to put on God, as God indeed put on our human nature. Merry Christmas.